I think we're live. I believe we're live. We're here with
Okay, cool.
here with Sean Doherty, candidate for Congress in California's District 19, up against Jimmy Panetta, who has been in office for the past decade. Actually, Sean, do you want to just tell us just a very, very quick anything about your campaign? Any updates? I'll give you like 2 minutes.
This campaign is really exciting. This is my second time running, and the support that we're getting now is so much more than 2 years ago. The people living in this district are waking up to what Jimmy Panetta is about. We've had two candidate forums just in the past couple of weeks. We had one on a local radio station. We had one at a local church, the Quaker Meeting House. That didn't happen 2 years ago. And as I said, it's very exciting. When we gathered signatures, this is actually another great data point. When we gathered signatures for ballot access this time around, we gathered almost 10 times as many signatures compared to when I ran in 2024. So the people of Congressional District 19 are ready for new representation. Someone who represents what we want, the people living here, not what national and international special interests want. Was that short enough? I can go on.
No, that was great. Yeah, we
Okay.
have we have clips coming out, and yeah, we have a new moderator, but this is like our test run, so that's why I like did the weird thing with the thing. I'm gonna take my hands off of it, so. So yeah, I just wanted to dive in, but we will have social media out about all of these events. Sean did a great job on the candidate forum with on the radio and live. So it's getting serious. People are getting very excited. So we are happy about that. So we're gonna just dive in here. And these came from Reddit. I also have a new form up, so you can just submit a question, and I think social media. So we just have about 12 right now, and then if anybody's in the chat during this random time of day, please drop a question in. But this is our first one.
What would you say to voters concerned about Swawelling and/or Fettermaning?
Yeah, this is the one from last time. Yes.
Right, right. And we did get some feedback from some of our supporters, and I thought it was really great feedback. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. With Swawelling has come to mean something very specific, which is accusations of SA. And our supporters suggested, and I agree with this, that we should be focused on treating these people like whistleblowers. We need to extend the kind of whistleblower protections to these people. And also, we need to focus on providing a basic safety net to people so that they're not afraid that if they lose their job, then they're going to be destitute. We need guarantees for people that they're going to have housing and food and medicine, even if there is some kind of retaliation, right? Just a basic safety net. And I agree with that completely. And I'm really disgusted by the fact that the way Swalwell was mistreating women was known for years. It was this kind of open secret. And that's completely unacceptable. And I don't even know what to say about that beyond I'm disgusted, and we need to do better.
Yes, yes. And I thought that was great feedback from because we were just like,
Yeah.
what do we say? I mean, we know what we believe, but like in this case, it's a lot. So how do we say it and kind of just be able to talk about it in a serious way? So
It's a
we
really
appreciate it.
big risk for someone to come out with that kind of information because they know they may not be believed, and maybe they don't have all the evidence that they need. But we need to make sure, as our supporter said, that they're protected, that they know that even if they are taking this risk, that they're going to be able to maintain a basic life of dignity.
Panetta has refused to sign the impeachment bill. Would you sign if elected?
So this is impeachment of Trump, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
So
I'm assuming that's yes, because that's the one he hasn't signed in the
right.
past year or so.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yes. There hasn't been an impeachment bill of Trump that I wouldn't have signed. I would sign. I would, of course, support impeaching Trump. And it seems like by the day, the argument for impeaching Trump gets stronger and stronger. The war with Iran, in particular, is an impeachable offense. He clearly violated the Constitution in declaring war unilaterally without the Congress. And that's what I would favor moving forward for impeachment. The Democrats are very likely to regain the House and the Senate, and we're going to be able to impeach him. And even removal seems realistic at this point. You know, Nixon, I would take a Nixon kind of scenario where he resigned before the Senate voted to remove him, because it's going to seem inevitable that the Republicans are turning on him. A significant faction of the Republicans are turning on him. The people who are not MAGA. MAGA is sort of like the Trumpers, right? The cults. But then there's America Firsters. And those are the people who say we need to prioritize America over Israel. And with those people on our side, I think removing Trump from office after the 2026 midterms is very realistic.
Right. I mean, just regular conservatives, just the regular
That's right.
Republicans are like, wait, I thought I thought we were talking about our farmland over here.
We've
So,
got we've got some really influential conservative figures turning against Trump, like Tucker Carlson. I think that was just in the past week that he said on his stream that he apologized for campaigning for Trump. There's a real chance that we can remove him from office before his term ends.
all right. What is your opinion on public transit, active transportation, and climate change?
I am a huge proponent of public transportation. My wife was born and raised in another country, and I've gone, well, England. I don't know why I did just say that. My wife was born and raised in England, and so I've gone there to visit her family a couple times now, and it's really amazing going to a place where you can get everywhere on just train and subway and bus. It's much more convenient. It's great because you can read a book while you're traveling somewhere. It's much better for the environment. I would support any legislation to build a high-speed rail system nationally. I would support legislation providing local funding for regional rail, regional buses. So yes, of course. And as for climate change, climate change is real. Climate change is man-made for the most part. And we need to quickly transition away from the use of fossil fuels, not only because of climate change. Like look what's going on with the Iran war, right? Look at how vulnerable the global economy is because of its dependence on fossil fuels. It's
And
looking
I just want to like add a question before you go into that
geopolitics.
topic. Yes.
Geopolitics on top. Yeah, go ahead.
Because we get this question a lot, and in various forms, and I think there's a couple other questions about climate change as well. But when it comes to public transportation, I mean, we've seen nothing move forward, right? Like it's just, I forget, I think you were telling me about the length of, like, how long have we been waiting for anything in California and elsewhere?
Yeah, like the high-speed rail connecting LA to San Francisco, and it's been going on for I don't know how long, a decade, and we've spent billions and built just like a mile or something ridiculous like that.
And that's our tax money, right? Like we're funding that, and then they'll probably make us pay for it as well. So Yeah, it just seems like
It's
a lot against us.
it's really frustrating, and I haven't talked to anyone who has good answers on why it is that we can't seem to build anything in this country. But other countries can manage to do it. China has built tens of thousands of kilometers of high-speed rail over the course of a couple decades, and we can do it too.
Follow the money, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole ecosystem of grift with consultants and other things. And we almost need to make like some kind of task force that can just get to the bottom of this. Because, like I said, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know why there's so much grift, but I'm positive that we can fix it if we have people who want to fix it. That's the thing. Like, and that's why it's so important to elect people like myself who are not taking these compromising campaign donations. We need people that prioritize the needs of the population over these well-connected special interests.
For the many, not the money.
Exactly.
Okay, what would you do specifically to support our community in getting funding to improve infrastructure? Another one that we get in a variety of different ways.
So that seems to be mostly about getting earmarks in legislation and influencing decisions made by executive branch agencies and appropriating the funds. My approach would be building coalitions of local leadership, local elected officials, to advocate for those infrastructure projects and to come up with proposals. I would see my role as empowering those coalitions, lifting up their voices.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like right now that's also a lot of lobbyists are writing legislation and helping with move that around. So the people's lobby, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that we're seeing something like that going on with the offshore drilling. We're seeing a coalition being built up throughout the state of California. Members of city councils, members of county boards of supervisors. Those are the kinds of coalitions that I would be happy to collaborate with to lobby for the infrastructure funding. I don't want it to be about my own connections. This is something that I think a lot of people believe that Jimmy is bringing to the table with his own connections, particularly because of who his father is. And that's not the right model. It can't be down to a single individual calling in favors. It needs to be something broader than that. So, yeah, community based.
speaking of,
Well,
any chance Panetta will debate you?
as far as I know, Panetta has not participated in any kind of forum or debate since he initially ran about a decade ago. But the pressure is there. As I said earlier in the stream, we've had 2 candidate forums just in the past like 2 weeks, and it's looking like there's going to be a couple more forums. And I'm not going to mention specifics because things haven't been announced yet, but it sounds like there's going to be a forum that he's going to have to attend. Maybe not a debate format, but there's enough dissent in the district that, yes, I think he's going to have to show up on the same stage as me before November.
I wanted to mention like or have you say something about those forums. Like, what were your thoughts about those? Like, because on the radio, I mean, it's you don't really get to respond, right? Like, it's not a debate is different.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything negative about the other candidates. I'll say that I'm the only candidate running who has a consistently progressive view on the issues. I'm the only candidate running from a progressive or left of center perspective who has a comprehensive policy platform.
That has become very clear, very clear.
Very diplomatic, okay.
Yeah. What is your policy on addressing the housing crisis in your district?
This is a really big one. This is probably the biggest issue for people living in this area. And there are a lot of policies that we propose as a campaign. And you can go to seanforcongress.org and go to our issues page, and you can see that we've got a number of policy proposals. In the near term, I'd like to expand rent subsidies, so-called Section 8. There's not enough funding there. You know, I've talked to several people who live in this area who have been on the waiting list for a Section 8 subsidy for a decade, and it's just not coming. And now the Trump administration has cut rent subsidies by something like 40% in this past year. We need to increase that funding. We need to expand eligibility, because in this area, you can earn a wage that's above what qualifies you for Section 8, but you still can't afford housing. So we need to expand the eligibility. I also want to see more funding for public housing authorities so that there's more public housing available, so-called social housing. And also as part of that, we would expand eligibility in terms of the income that with which you can still qualify for that public housing. And the public housing, you'd pay at most 30% of your paycheck towards housing. Another idea that I'm really interested in is low interest or even zero interest mortgages, so that people who are buying their primary residence, this isn't for landlords that are wanting to buy homes that they're going to rent out. This is for a house that you want to live in. You can get a mortgage that has ideally a 0% interest rate, which means that at the end of a 30-year mortgage, you've just paid the price tag of your house, not double the price tag or more. And what that means practically is your monthly payment gets cut in half. And that's what we need. If you look at it in aggregate, what the average household income is and what the average cost of a house is right now, it's like 60% of income goes towards housing. Affordable housing is 30%. So actually a 0% mortgage is a great solution to get that housing cost down to what people can afford. And I think that's really important for especially young people. Young people are coming in to the housing market. They don't already have a home that they can sell and that for a big price and then buy in. They need this kind of boost to get into the housing market. I want to make housing affordable for Gen Z and millennials and Gen X for that matter. It's not just young people, it's especially bad for young people or just anyone who hasn't owned a home before.
Yeah, it's a lot of us just don't even think about it anymore. It's just so out of the realm.
Absolutely. And that's not how it should be. And this is not a pie in the sky idea. This is a real thing. There are other countries doing this. Mexico is doing this, for example. So this is not just some stupid thing I dreamt up in the bathroom. Like this is a real thing. We can do this. This is what big countries do. We can do this.
In fact, if you really want to know, we have spent hours looking at numbers and details behind the scenes for the.
Ashley has been subjected to my research with all the number crunching. Yeah.
No, well, yeah, you have that data and that curiosity, and then also we did that, I think, after the housing virtual town hall that we had as well, because we were getting input there too. So, but yeah, this is not unheard of. All right. How do you see yourself working in a bipartisan way in Congress as it is presently so polarized?
Yeah, this is one that I actually have gotten a lot from forums and house parties and that kind of thing. A lot of people are concerned about this. I would focus on issues where we've got a consensus between the left and the right. And I don't mean the elected officials. I mean more like the rank and file. There are red states that have passed ballot propositions that people living in this district would like. There are red states that have passed ballot props raising the minimum wage. There are red states that have passed ballot propositions banning prison labor, prison slave labor. So I think we can work with red state representatives on those issues. The representatives might not go along with us, despite the fact that their constituents want to go along with us. And so in a case like that, I would be happy to go on conservative podcasts and make the case, reach out to the constituents in those districts and encourage them to pressure their representatives and threaten to primary them.
Yeah, I think that's all, like, it's so important because they play the two parties against us so much that it is just this massive game. And if we just look at actually what we need to do and we're trying to do, why would we not be able to get that done other than, follow the money? Okay.
Well, let's just sorry, I'm gonna, just the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I know there's a lot of problems in terms of execution, like there still was a lot of redaction that shouldn't have happened, but it did get passed. And I think that was in large part because Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie went directly to the people. The members of Congress didn't want to release the Epstein files, but the people did. And so this pressure from the bottom up was able to succeed in pushing through legislation despite the wishes of the electeds.
And they're continuing to. They're consistently out there and talking about it and getting other people in Congress, they're also talking about it. Like, it's become this, like, they're not going to let go, and they shouldn't. So yeah, we can do these things. Okay, here's one. Jimmy Panetta prides himself on working with Republicans. Okay. How do you view the bipartisan work he expresses such pride in? So, like, it sounds like the actual, like, work that he's done.
Yeah, but bipartisanship is not inherently a good thing. It depends on what you're actually advocating for. Jimmy's done some really bad bipartisan work, like helping form a commission to ultimately cut funding to Social Security, or in building up military alliances in the Middle East to ultimately wage a war on Iran. So I don't think bipartisanship is something that is inherently good. And we're, in this district, very unhappy with some of that bipartisan work that he's been doing. And, I just listed several examples. And there's more. Ashley, are there any bipartisan bills that you want to call attention to?
Oh, most of them. I forget what the percentage was. It was on one of those where they aggregate the data, but it was like 41% or something like that is bipartisan. And, like, he's been in Congress for decades. So where are we getting it other than more to the right, or, more extreme on that side with the centralized power and the support for Israel framed as this other, like, Middle East, strengthening the Middle East. But in a lot of the research, you'll see things like, or not research, in his legislation, literally, like starting with the Demand Act, that would be in the air, with supporting Israel, starting with I guess the other big one was like the Maritime Act. So in the seas, then you have the STARS Act. So in literally the globe, and then the LINC, the Abraham Accords Act. So those are all bipartisan, and they're all for the same agenda. So yeah, he does a lot. He's he's more influential than people actually give him credit for, because
Right.
he talks a lot about other issues.
There's bipartisan consensus in the Congress for sending weapons to Israel right now, and he's a part of that bipartisan consensus. He's also been working with the Republicans in praising ICE, right? Like he signed that resolution last year that was praising ICE for protecting the homeland. I think that's one of the most egregious votes that he made. Another one that I've heard a number of constituents complain about is that bill that would empower the executive branch to revoke nonprofit status from organizations for basically arbitrary reasons. I can't remember what supposedly the reasons were in the bill, but granting the executive branch unilateral authority to revoke nonprofit status from organizations, making them probably financially unviable, effectively shutting down organizations. And that's, the concern is that they'll be shut down for taking positions that are at odds with the White House, and then they'll be shut down because of it.
Also, he didn't vote to impeach.
Right.
What is your plan to prepare for the work once you're in office to make sure that you are up to speed and effective?
Yeah.
I say kind of a fair question, because we're seeing the news like rapid fire right now.
Well, I can't know everything. That's one of the most daunting aspects of running for an office like this, is that my responsibilities would encompass basically world affairs, everything that's going on in our country and everything that's going on outside of our country. So it's impossible for me to know everything necessary on a given topic. And so I would rely on experts. I would rely on experts in international affairs, national affairs, and local affairs. And the local affairs I'll address first. This one is important for a couple of reasons. One is that I want that local expertise on what the people of this district want, but I also want to be connected to people who are not in DC so that they can prevent me from developing Washington brain. I think there are a lot of people who go to Washington with the best of intentions, but they spend all their time at these dinner parties and whatnot, rubbing elbows with these other DC creatures, and they lose the perspective of their constituents. So getting experts from the district would be probably my top priority. At the national level, Dennis Kucinich. I don't know if that's a household name any longer, but Dennis Kucinich was a really principled member of Congress who ran for president, I think back in 2008. He was consistently calling for peace, and he's a person who thinks independently. I would love to lean on him as an advisor, or at least find advisors through him. People who have familiarity with the system but are not part of the system, exiles like Kucinich. He was gerrymandered out of his seat.
I also just want to say that you are very good at qualifying, like whether somebody has any kind of relevant, like you wouldn't just be like, oh, good, you're for peace, and yet they have no solutions or whatever. Like they're just out there wearing their Birkenstocks socks and just hugging trees. Like you look at especially with your background, look at the information that you're receiving, and like look at it, look for gaps and risk analysis, kind of like mentality, when it comes to information and data. And so I don't think that I'm just going to say, just like from me, like, I don't think you're I don't think you're the type of person that's going to bring in some random Joe Schmo that doesn't know anything, or could be toxic to the agenda of serving the people. Like, you are so committed to the people that I do believe your biggest fear so far I have heard has been being influenced by the DC
Oh no, that's 100%.
people. Yeah.
No,
So like maintaining that is, I do know that for sure is a huge priority.
I've got multiple people who have agreed to be on like a local advisory council. People who I know from, you and I have been going to conferences that are advocating for families living in farming communities who are being impacted by pesticides. I would choose someone from that community, one of the people fighting against pesticides, to serve on some kind of local advisory council. I would choose someone who's advocating for the rights of the local homeless population and trying to get good, dignified housing for them. I would choose someone who's been advocating for renters' rights. Those are the kinds of people that I would want advising me. They're subject matter experts, but who have no ties to big power and big money, right? Basically.
Right. Yes, exactly. All right. This one is definitely a recent, frequently asked question. Are you concerned about offshore drilling on the Central Coast? And what steps will you take to protect our oceans that Jimmy Panetta isn't currently doing?
Yeah. The biggest criticism I have with Jimmy Panetta and the way he's approaching this problem right now is that it's so hyper focused on just protecting our economy in the Central Coast, when this is a much broader issue, right? Climate change is a global issue, and it's not sufficient to focus just on keeping offshore drilling away from this little segment of our coast. We need a more comprehensive view. But even more important, possibly, is that Jimmy has this huge blind spot with respect to the military. The U.S. military is the biggest institutional polluter in the world. And unfortunately, in these international bodies that are dealing with climate change right now, they ignore the contributions of militaries to carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. So that's probably the biggest difference between me and him. As a legislator, I would prioritize shrinking our military budget, shrinking our global presence. We don't need 800 military bases. We don't need to have our ships patrolling the waters around the globe. We should shrink our military to something that is just focused on protecting our shores, not ruling the world. So he does not have a holistic view of carbon emissions because he's pro, I don't want to say just pro-military, but pro-empire. And the empire is incompatible with addressing climate change.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's actually, I think, the last question that I had from today. And so I don't want to like drag it out for an hour. I know, and I do want to say we missed last week and it was for a good reason. I believe a video will be coming out about it tomorrow, but it was with the students in Monterey, which is really important. So I will actually just say, like, is there anything else that you want to talk about or leave us with? Either way.
Well, let's talk about that protest a little bit. I'm very excited that video is coming out. I attended a rally / protest at CSU Monterey Bay. The Black students there, and not just Black students, but also LGBTQIA and Palestinian. It's a number of marginalized groups are experiencing discrimination, harassment, hate crimes. I think it would be accurate to describe them as hate crimes. And it's not just at the Monterey Bay campus, it's actually throughout the state. But in the case of Monterey Bay, we have students who had racial slurs scrawled on their dorm room doors. There were racial slurs scrawled on walls of university buildings. There were gatherings on beaches where people were, I guess, in a circle around a fire, shouting racial
Oh, that
slurs.
was horrible.
Yeah. So it's best to hear this in the words of the students who experience these hate crimes, this harassment. But it's a very real problem, and I was shocked to learn about it. We all live in our own little silos. I live in Santa Cruz in a mostly white neighborhood, and I hadn't really heard about this stuff. So we, as a campaign, are trying to just elevate the voices of the people who are seeing these things that many of us are not seeing. So yeah, look for that video.
I mean, I wasn't able to go, but you were able to get the video clips out there, or get that interview with them. And it was just really, I cried when I watched the whole thing. The whole thing won't be posted, but it was just just why is there so much, hatred and violence and anger and, no accountability, and just kind of I just felt just leave these students alone, leave these people alone. This is horrible. And they're just fighting so hard for it. And I think the fact that you go on the ground to speak with people to get their actual perspective that's one of the biggest things, even early on with the campaign, that I was like, yeah, Sean, all the way. Because you get it, the actual information from the people on the ground, not just Zoom calls.
The fact is that a lot of our policy platform was constructed by consulting with organizers and activists throughout the district. Ashley and I, in many cases, both of us went to events and met with these people and established relationships. And I'm really trying to be a representative. I have my own strong convictions. I think people know that, but I also recognize my own ignorance. I only know my own personal lived experience. So I try to learn from other people in the district who have completely different experiences.
These are the people we want to protect for our future, right?
Yeah, I want to protect my kid.
Yep. Yeah. And also we know from especially from people in Monterey, our Black American freedmen down there, we've heard a lot about it for the past year, about the racism. And even there was a whole thing that happened in the news about a shooting that happened right before the MLK march, and how it changed everything. So even we're in these 4 counties, and they're so different in all these little pockets. They're so different. So I'm glad I think that invite just came through a volunteer maybe, or it's not like these are broadcast. So
yeah, it was through some of the people that we had been working with earlier in the campaign when we were working on lineage-based reparations. So these are some of the activists that we worked with in developing our policy platform. They tipped us off to that rally.
Yeah,
so it's very much a community-rooted campaign.
Yeah.
Sure. And the community's pissed. Yeah, it's called Pissed at Panetta. People are pissed at Panetta because he's voting to send our money to support wars abroad. And, we look at his campaign donations, and that seems to explain a lot of it, right? The Israel lobby's his #1 donor for his 10 years in office.
And also he's got the SERVE Act, the Enlist Act. So students are going to be, he's been putting this legislation forward, which is recruiting in schools and stuff. So just in general, all from education to to Israel, just protect us. Let's get real representation, right?
Yeah. And so I'm just a broken record on this, but I don't believe a person can represent us when they're taking money from these interests outside the district, from these national and international interests. Like he, and I think it's a vicious cycle. I think he's been trapped in it. My guess is that Jimmy wants to escape from Israel now. Like now that the American public has turned against Israel, he wishes that he could escape.
I mean, it's definitely harder to navigate in marketing.
But he's stuck. He needs that money in order to conduct a campaign and to stay in office. And I don't know that he can actually get out of it. So let's elect a person who's not taking those compromising donations. You know, I only take money from small donors and from the people living here.
Yes, and by the way, if you're watching,
oh right, yeah, we can do some money.
No, you don't have to say anything. But yes, very much grassroots, and we should actually remind people of that because very, very serious about it, because we see the direct tie between what's happening in our government and paid for politicians and everything that's happening. So, you know, we have a donate button, but we're not great at asking for money. So
we're not great at asking for money.
Well, because it feels weird. It's like for the many, not the money. Can we have some money? Because we're not of money, but we're for the many.
Yeah, yard signs cost money, T-shirts cost money, pamphlets cost money. Yeah.
Yes. Staff costs money. And imagine if we had an office, like an actual, like a central point. Like I think that's got to be our goal for November. Like
yeah, well, I think that's going to happen post June, and that's
what I mean. Yeah.
You just asked us to wrap this up 10 minutes ago, and here we are still rambling on. But I want to mention that this campaign is viable. It's really exciting. When you look at the ballot, I guess probably most of you have gotten your voter guides at this point. Like look who's on the ballot. There's 2 Republicans. Both endorsed by 2 county central committees. So they're going to split that right-wing vote. And then there's a libertarian on top of that who paid to get in that voter guide. So the right wing is split. And for us to get second place at the same time that constituents are furious with Jimmy, like some of these candidate forums were starting to get organized before it was known that there were going to be 2 Republicans. So it's this kind of like perfect storm of the right being split and the constituents being angry. It's going to be the first time since he's been in office that he's facing a Democrat in November. And
Have you ever faced this many before?
There were some other elections where there were a number of independents running. This is not the first time.
That I don't think I had that data.
But
yeah,
his constituents have never been so angry. Just anecdotally, I think my wife's like massage therapist knew who Panetta was and knew that she doesn't follow politics closely, but she knew that he was voting along with the right on some really important issues. So there's this like general awareness that he's not that smiling guy you see on the photo ops.
Yes. All right. He does a lot of photo ops.
I know.
I saw there was one person that came to and they were like, yeah, he did a photo op and we didn't know that's what it was. And now we're mad. And here we are. So keep going, Jimmy. But yes, June, do you want to give the election date?
Yeah, June 2nd is when the primary election is. You should have probably already gotten your voter guide. I just got mine at my household maybe 2 days ago. I know some friends who got it even a little earlier than that. So you're probably going to, if you haven't gotten it already, you're going to get it within the next couple of days. And then ballots are mailing out any day now. So you're going to get your ballot as well. So fill it out. And you don't have to fill out the whole thing. Like if you don't know how to vote on a particular seat, you can still vote. For me, you could just vote for me if you wanted to, and you can mail it in and that would still count. So it's really important to do that.
I think that's a great like reminder, because I do remember even when I was first voting, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything. How
Yeah.
they're gonna reject my test. Like when I knew
Really,
nothing. Good
yeah,
reminder.
it's really confusing when it comes to like judges and school board and ballot props. And
Yes.
if you don't feel comfortable with voting on one of those because you don't feel informed enough, that's fine. You don't, as I said, you don't have to. You can leave that blank. You can just vote on the ones where you feel informed and that you have a strong opinion.
Yes. And this is a big election for this district. I think this is the best chance to unseat Panetta, kick out some lobbyists, and get some power back to the people. So, all right, let's just leave it at that, and then we'll try and be here next week at 2 o'clock and to have some new questions. So submit your questions.
All right. Thanks, everyone.